everyone, it's Ashley from Yoga for That. You've completed your yoga teacher training. Now what do you do? Over the next 5 weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you my 5 pillars of being a great yoga teacher. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can receive all of the updates. This week we're going to be talking about the qualities that make up a great yoga teacher. First things first, take a moment to write down 5 to 10 qualities of your favorite yoga teacher or yoga teachers. And then write down 5 to 10 qualities that you think you'll be able to offer to your students. And then take a moment to compare and contrast those lists. Are they similar? What about them is different? Why do you enjoy the qualities of your favorite yoga teacher? What makes them special? Why do you want to offer certain qualities to your students? Now I'm going to share with you the 5 qualities that I feel make up a great yoga teacher. And of course, these will probably vary a little bit from your list. But these are the qualities that I think are the most important. The first quality that I think is the most important is being likable and being personable. And how are you going to be likable to everyone? Obviously, not everyone's going to like you. But if you're likable, more people will come to your class. So this is definitely a skill and a trait that I think is very important amongst all yoga teachers, is always putting your best foot forward to being likable and being personable. So how do you appear to be more likable and appear to be more personable? Smile. I hate being told to smile by strangers, but in the classroom, smiling is key. Knowing that your students want to know that you're happy to be there, that you're happy to spend your time with them, and that their time is valuable to you as well. So making sure that you smile is very important, and making sure that you take time to acknowledge your students, especially if they're coming up to talk to you after or before class. Turn towards them, face them, acknowledge that they're talking to you and wanting some of your time. And sometimes we're really busy, I get it. But maybe it's something that you can say to them, hey, I really have to run to my next class, but I'd love to chat to you more about this. Here's my card, email me, or maybe we can chat a little bit before next class. But always make sure that they know that their time is valuable as well. They are paying to be in your class. Whether you get paid a lot of money or not to do your job, they're still paying to be there. So making sure that you know to value their time, and that'll make you seem a lot more likable and a lot more personable, and they're going to be more likely to return to your class in the future. The second trait that I think is really important is caring about your students. And for some people, this comes a lot more naturally than others. For me, creating a relationship with my students is what I love most about teaching. So for me, it actually comes really naturally to be involved with my students. And I also worked in customer service for about 7 years. So I don't know, maybe it's not necessarily natural, but over 7 years you really learn how to engage with people and customers, and your students are customers. So knowing how to engage with them in a way that you come across that you're caring about them, whether that is really genuine or not so genuine, but I think that showing that you care for your students is really going to help them, and over time will come more naturally to you, and will also help your likability status as a teacher. So how do you show your students that you care? It's super simple for me. I try to acknowledge different students every class. Some of my classes can be quite busy, so it's going to be hard for me to acknowledge 20, 25, 30 people each individually every class, and I'm not necessarily going to have something to say to every student. But if I notice a student has come back from a long absence, checking in with them, seeing what was going on, if someone's been ill or been dealing with a family situation, checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, reminding them to take their practice easy, especially if they're coming back from a long hiatus. So just taking that opportunity to check in with different people. And then over time, I've actually found that then my students come in and they let me know what's going on with them. I had a student about a month ago who was telling me she was having a bit of an issue with her hip, And I told her she should probably go see physio because they're really great at helping you with injuries. And so I referred her to my physio, and she told me last weekend that her hip was all better and she was super happy that I recommended that to her. So sometimes it's just a matter of connecting with someone in whatever way you connect with them. You don't have to connect with every student, obviously, but taking time to reach out in whatever way that means to you. Maybe you like to share your favorite books with your students. Maybe you like to share your favorite restaurants, your favorite vacation spots. But finding a connection with them helps you become more caring, more personable, more likable over time, and all those things come more naturally, and you create a community, which is an amazing part of being a yoga teacher. Is I can go into work and I don't know if you can tell in this video, I'm super nasally. I'm actually working tonight, but I'm actually really looking forward to it, and I know that my students aren't really going to mind so much that I'm sick and maybe not totally understandable in my teaching, but that's the community I'm in, and I love it. So doing what you can to be a part of that community in whatever way that means to you. The third quality I find super important is being approachable. The one thing I like least about going to a class is the yoga teacher that comes in at the very last second, right before class is supposed to start, and they're out the door as soon as class ends. I know that a lot of yoga teachers teach back-to-back classes. I'm quite fortunate because my back-to-back classes are all in the same studio, so I have that 15 minutes between class to check in with students who are leaving my first class and the students that are coming into my second class. So I have that opportunity to check in with them. But I do find it kind of frustrating when teachers just kind of dart in and dart out of class. And you know, I know that our job is to teach, and we go into the class and we're getting paid for that hour teaching. We're not getting paid for the before, and we're not getting paid for the after. But teachers that I feel I have a connection with, because after class, if I can say, oh, in this pose I felt this, or I really enjoyed your class today, or what was that music you used today, I want an opportunity to chat with someone. I mean, think about it. If you're in university, at the end of your lecture, you still have an opportunity to check in with your professor, whether in person or by email, or they have office hours. And I kind of feel that as yoga teachers, we have that same responsibility to be there for our students. We want to help them grow. We want to help them learn within their own practice as well. And if we're constantly coming in right before the class starts and right after the class ends, we're losing that opportunity to help them grow. And a lot of times it's things like, this pose hurts my wrists, or this pose hurts my knees. It gives you an opportunity to kind of check in with them, maybe give them some modifications, some variations, and it also helps you grow as a teacher, because maybe no one's ever told you that a certain pose felt a certain way, and when you talk to other students, like, yeah, I feel that same thing, and it helps us as teachers grow and learn to sequence better, to cue our poses more efficiently and more safely. So think of it as a good give and take. So even though you're not getting paid for the time before your class or after your class, it's actually helping you grow and to become a better teacher. So constantly be approachable. Tell your students that you're there for them and there to help them, because that's what we're there to do. And the fourth quality I think is super important is having authority in the room, and this is huge. I'm known at my studio to be kind of one of the nicer yoga teachers, but within the practice itself, rather than someone they can get away with things. I'm very strict about phones away, unless someone's on call. Obviously they can have their phone, but I'm very quick to tell people to put their phones away. I'll check in with people after class. I try not to call people out during class. One, it's embarrassing for the person, for most people anyways, and two, it disrupts the class. So taking time, if you've been noticing kind of habits develop amongst your students, taking time before or after class just to acknowledge some things that have been laxing in terms of studio rules. Knowing that you're creating a safe space for people. A lot of people go to yoga to get away from the craziness of life, and if they see people in there like on their phones, especially during practice, it drives me crazy that people can't put their phones down for an hour or even half an hour for some classes. So just creating a safe space and taking control of the room in terms of letting them know what the rules of the studio are, because it does differ from studio to studio and from teacher to teacher. And I find it also frustrating when I go to a class and I set up my stuff and then the teacher comes over and they're telling me what I'm doing wrong, and it sets such a terrible tone for your practice, because I'm someone who just strictly follows the rules. I always have, and if I'm doing something wrong, obviously I want someone to tell me, but I don't enjoy when someone comes over and they tell me kind of in a harsh tone, like I should have known. So making sure, if you are reminding students of rules, that you're being nice about it, and not calling anyone out about it, but just giving them a gentle reminder and why we have those rules. So no cell phones, so there's no distractions in the room. Not having our bags near our mat, so putting all the bags away is just for safety, so the teacher can walk around and students can walk around safely, as well as you don't have any temptation to start ruffling through your bags. And a huge pet peeve of mine is when people leave early, and I totally understand that people have lives, and sometimes they were only able to fit in like a 45-minute class or whatever. I get it, but I always tell my students to let me know beforehand if they need to leave early, and I'll let them know gently right before we're going into our final Shavasana that would be a good time to kind of pack up and go. And I usually set them up by the door so their leaving is not so disruptive, so they're not walking from one side of the room all the way to the other. And I do allow them to either keep their bags at their mat or out in the lobby with reception, so they're not kind of disruptive, grabbing all their bags from the cubbies and then walking back across the room. So it's just being mindful that every student has different needs, but also that everyone in that room also came in with a certain expectation. So you want to set out a set of ground rules amongst the studio, as well as your own kind of ground rules personally as a teacher, and that will make sure that everyone is in a safe space, everyone understands what's expected of them, and knows what they can expect from your class. The last and final quality of a yoga teacher that I think is super important is being passionate. And that's passionate about teaching, that's passionate about teaching someone something, whether it's how to do a certain pose, if it's the sutras, if it's the history of yoga, if it's how to live your life better. Whatever you're passionate about teaching someone in a yoga class, just do that. Be you. Be passionate about what you love and what you want others and your students to take out of your classes. And along the lines of being passionate, kind of go hand in hand, is continuing to learn. And I think this is so important. I recently started working towards my 500 hours, if you're not already aware of that. And until about this past summer, the summer of 2017, I hadn't quite reached the point where I was ready for it. I felt pretty comfortable teaching. I kind of just got into the rhythm of how I wanted to teach my classes. And I was given a new job opportunity which required me to work towards my 500 hours, and I am absolutely loving it. Every class I teach more passionately. I have more resources to go out and read more about things that I might not necessarily teach in class, but I think are fundamental to being a yoga teacher. And it's just interesting to understand where yoga came from and where yoga is going. And whether you teach it in a class or not, you're going to have students that ask you questions, and I think it's very important to at least have a basic understanding of certain concepts, and then be able to give them the resources that they need or links to resources they can go to learn more. So just being passionate about what you do. This is our career, it's our living, it's a calling. So be passionate about it. It's very rare for me not to want to go to teach. Even when I'm sick, I want to go teach. I think I could have a handful of times remember of not wanting to go teach, and it was just that I felt I needed more sleep, or something else was going on that I just didn't really feel like it, but I still went in and taught. So if you're that passionate about it, teach that, be that, tell your students that, live your life of that, and you will always be a great yoga teacher. So those are my top 5 qualities of being a great yoga teacher. Did any of them make your list? Make sure to write down in the comments below the qualities that you think make up the best yoga teacher and didn't make my top 5. Did you like this video? Please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your yoga friends. Also, in January, I'm going to be launching my first online course called So You're a Yoga Teacher, Now What? More details are going to come out in the next few weeks as I cover these 5 topics. So make sure to subscribe to my mailing list and you'll receive more details as information comes out. See you next week. Thanks, guys.